are starting a new episode of The Slack Doctors. I am Dr. Chip.
I am Dr. Bob.
Howdy.
Speaking slowly, yes, I think I can hear him now, so I can introduce our guest today. Longtime friend of the show, original friend of the show, and longtime friend of myself, Scott Allen.
That's me.
There he is.
There he is. There's the man.
New minoxidil look. You know, that stuff really works.
Yeah, that HIMSS program is really kicking, I got to say.
You got to just take it every day for the rest of your life. But, you know, my quaff.
That's some good Rogaine right there.
Yeah.
So
to let the watchers and listeners know, Scott is the gentleman who designed our logo and our animation, as well as our original logo when we went by a different name, the Sloth Doctors.
That is correct. Did you
got it ready right here? The T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I have one of those.
Yeah. Only three in the world, and the three people on the show right now are the three people that have it.
Yeah, those will be collector's items someday, maybe. Who knows?
So just prior to this going live, Ram and I were talking about, I'm drinking a Paloma, and his drink that he has just randomly, synchronistically, happens to be a Paloma flavored drink.
I actually went by, so I keep getting these ads on YouTube letting me know that Total Wine and Liquor now has THC infused beverages. And since I don't drink alcohol, I stopped by there today and picked up a little 4-pack, and it was the same exact one that first time I ever tried one was with you in Charlotte.
Right.
And we went to some brewery or something, and I didn't want to drink, so I got one of these. It's not bad.
I knew that was gonna happen eventually. We'd have just some kind of drink where you can just drink it and get stoned instead of having to smoke it.
I do the drinking for both of us whenever we hang out.
It's only 10 milligrams, so it's not like it's gonna.
That's not much.
It's not like one of my irresponsible brownies.
No, that's not bad at all.
Well, you're not exactly a lightweight either.
Fair enough.
I remember it was a topic of conversation at where we worked. Where people on break between shifts, between the lunch and dinner shift, were not allowed to participate in certain activities at Ram's place because they would come back greatly impaired.
I believe he's told that story many times on the podcast.
Whereas he would be fine, you know.
Yeah, that's where I met you. Was back like 91?
It was 94. It was summer of 94. And I remember because you when you introduced yourself, I think you were probably used to, like most people, thinking like ROM, like computer based. But I immediately was just like, oh, like the Space Knight, you know?
Yeah.
Like the Marvel comic, and I had the toy as a kid, so I was like the Space Knight. But you knew who it was, obviously. So that was we hit it off immediately.
So Scott, you've obviously got some background in the restaurant industry.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I always had a foot outside of it doing other things, usually like hands-on stuff. A buddy of mine I helped do like home theater installation stuff. Another buddy of mine I helped like building decks and things like that. Right. I do a lot of artwork, but the consistency has always been some sort of service industry. As of late, the last 3 years, it's a brewery, which I'll never go back to restaurants because brewery is like equal or better money for just like so much less work and hassle and stress. You know,
absolutely. And you know, it's funny, they use this term nowadays called gig work, and to tell you the truth, restaurant work is the original gig work. It's like you don't really get paid,
that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly.
You're really kind of going in there as much, you know, when you're waiting tables or whatever, as a kind of a subcontractor. You know, there's your area of the tables that you're going to be allowed to make money off of, and you know, we're going to pay you a couple of pennies on the dollar to clean up afterwards.
They provide you the product, and you know, you sell it, and schmooze people, and you know.
And Dr. Chip, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a period in time where you were doing literally the ultimate restaurant gig work, in the sense that I want to say it was 2, if not 3 restaurants that you were hired at, but you were not on the schedule of any of them.
No, it
and
was
you
just
simply
one.
Picked and chose to, you know, hey, anybody want the night off? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just one. Yeah, I started
for me because that was me.
Oh, you did that too?
You did it.
So at Providence Cafe, I was employed there probably a total of about 18 years. But I was only actually on the schedule maybe about 8 of those years, maybe 10 tops. Because I would just like once a month or so, I would just show up and be like, hey, who wants to go home? And the
it
owner
works.
was cool with it. He's like, I'd rather you be here anyway than them. And I would always time it where I'd come in after they always did all the opening side work, so I didn't have to do it.
Of course. Yeah.
And it got to the point where people would preemptively text me like, "Hey, if you're coming in this Sunday, pick me."
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so I just would work whenever I wanted to, and it was perfect.
yeah, kind of same situation with me. I started working this restaurant basically at lunch because I had gigs at night. So I was really, I can't really commit to working nights. But sure enough, I ended up getting called in for a night here or there, and working a couple of nights. And then once they got, okay, he's good enough to work nights, then I would just sit home. And sure enough, somebody would call me like, "Hey, you want to work tonight?" I'm like, "Man, I can't. I got a gig." Or, yeah, I'll be in. I literally live like 5 minutes from the restaurant. So it's like, yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes, or however long it took me to take a shower or whatever. But yeah, for the last, I'd say 2 years that I worked there, I wasn't on any schedule at all and probably worked 3 or 4 nights a week. Just sitting home, just
the
answering
best
the
part
phone.
about that for me was you're not there enough to get caught up in all the drama and the stress. The whole like, I hate my job, I hate these people. It's almost like a little mini reunion, like, "Hey, what's up? How's it been?" Like, and you don't know what's going on, and it's still fun, and
I've got a funny story about that because I was working one of these night shift at this place, Beefeaters, and the owner there, this guy George, he was a really cool guy. For some reason, the manager had to take the night off, so he was there working as as basically the manager or whatever, even though he's the owner. And I forget, somebody ordered something that we had run out of or something, so I had to have him come take an item off somebody's check. And he's sitting there at the register with me, and he goes, "I've never had to do anything like this in your whole time you've worked here, have I? Before now, have I, Chip?" And I'm like, no, I pretty much no. It's like never really had any kind of problem. Nobody even kind of fly under the radar. Nobody notices you, and like you say, you can like skate in and out without doing any side work. It was great.
Yeah. So a couple of before we like move on from like that particular place where I met Rom, that was, I remember very vividly, that whole time period was like right when like Beavis and Butthead had just come out, and NBA Jam, like we were all about NBA Jam, like quoting it back and forth, and
Really?
just, do you remember that?
Well, I remember it, but yeah, I didn't pay that much attention
like
to it.
Rom, do you remember it? Like,
Oh, absolutely. I was waiting for him to respond because I don't think Chip played that video game or much video games at all in that
It was
era.
just so old school, 8-bit. The music and the visuals was just so old school. It's like,
Right. And the only like the most quality thing of that game was the voiceover.
Yeah.
He's on fire.
can't buy a bucket.
Yeah, I do remember that well. In fact, that was a common extracurricular activity that would be going on during break between lunch shifts and dinner shifts, as well as other things.
And also, when I first started there, it wasn't always this way, but for a time we had to wear a tie. But you could wear whatever tie you wanted, so you could have it be like your flair, like your personal, And so when I first met your dad, the very first time he came in for lunch, he was sitting at the bar, and you were talking to him, and I just happened to like walk past, and you introduced us, and the very first thing he did was he kind of like looked at me, he looked at my tie, and he said something like, "Why the hell would you wear a tie like that?" It's like, okay, all right, I read you. Okay.
Yeah, he was a very warm and friendly guy to strangers for the
Yep.
most part.
Yes. Yeah, that was how we met.
He was the epitome of that, that axiom of like old guys don't want to make new friends. Like regardless of no matter how I talk somebody up, I could be like, "Yes, my best friend, I've known him for however many years." You're like, "Fuck that guy. I don't want to make friends with that guy. I got all the friends I need."
Over the years, over the decades, he realized like I'm not going anywhere. We ended up like having lunch with him and going over the house, and like he eventually was like, "Okay, Scott's not going anywhere. I'll be nice to him."
Yeah.
All right,
But yeah, he's certainly not going to hang out with you if I'm not around.
All right,
Yeah.
I want to go back to the ties at restaurants because I have a great story about that. I don't know if Rom was working there yet, but at the restaurant where Rom and I met, they used to have this thing where, and I mean, you got to realize this is late '80s, early '90s, where the style was the skinny tie, the new wave, the skinny ties. So we would have a contest where people would show up with whatever they could, the widest ties they could find. I mean, we used to have these old 70s, big wide ties that were just like Paisley and just horrific looking ties that we would wear. And this guy shows up one time, and he literally has one of the biggest ties we've ever seen. And he did the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, because it basically was a steakhouse. He reaches, he goes, "Would you like some A1 with your steak?" And he reaches around, and in the back of his tie, he had a bottle of A1.
Yeah. Was that Dave Warner?
Tie. It was hilarious. I think it was Dave Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you can to like just get through it, because like Ram and I recently were reminiscing about how we would, or I would haze. I don't know how much you were in there, but like the new hostesses, just for whatever reason there was an actual landline phone in the server aisle with a separate number where you could call the host stand, and there was like planters that they couldn't see you, so you could literally like watch them as you're like disguising your voice and pretending like you're a group of 30 that just got on the bus and is like heading over there immediately, and they're like panicking, and everyone's in on the joke, so no one's helping them. Everyone's walking away, and they're just like, even the owner's just like, yeah, it's fine.
Obviously, before caller ID, I guess.
Not only that.
Yeah, this is like 1994 through whatever late 90s.
But I do remember this was right after the Jerky Boys were really, really blew up and got popular. So everybody and their mom wanted to try to do prank phone calls. In fact, Pat Lavery, that's kind of how he and I became friends, was doing the infamous Patel Brown Eye, which long before Cash Patel ever. So my friend, I should explain this. So there was the guy we were both friends with. His last name was Lavery. First name, we won't even give it. Doesn't matter. However, he was a lunatic. And he had been doing this type of prank calling since he was in high school. And so he whips out a phone book, right? This is back when they had phone books. And he goes, check this out. And he goes to Patel. Now, at that time, I had never heard of anybody named Patel. I didn't know it was an Indian surname. I didn't know, about the caste system, all of that stuff. It was all new to me. Didn't know. So I had no idea how many of them there were. But what he wanted to point out was the first names. The first names is just a list of the most insane 15 consonants and 12 vowels, right. Bip and the bop and the ba and stuff like that. And for some reason, he would just pick them at random and call them and scream at them on the phone, which at the time seemed kind of amusing. So everybody was already making prank phone calls. So a lot of the prank calls that we did to the hostess stand, we would kind of be basically doing the characters off of the Jerky Boys. But then I remember almost weaponizing it too, because I think more than once or twice I called in a fake reservation to Travis or one of the other servers to make sure that all their tables would get pulled together just long enough for my station to get full, get all 4 of my tables full in time for them to realize that this other table is never showing up, and then break up Travis, and then he can start getting tables after that. But I wanted to get a good head start on making money.
That's pretty diabolical, actually.
Yeah, my go-to was Rod. My name is Rodney, but the ladies call me Rod. You know what I'm saying? And they don't know me yet. They're like their first day, these hostesses. So like they don't connect the dots that like I'm literally like watching them through the planter as I'm talking on the phone from the server aisle.
Well, speaking of diabolical, did you guys hear about the January 6th pipe bomber?
No.
Oh, they've identified her.
Okay. Oh, that's unique.
Yes, she was a Capitol Police officer that is now serving in the CIA.
That checks.
Yeah. So that's who put the pipe bombs. Now, here's, we live in such an age of malinformation. All right. Right after it happened, they claimed that these pipe bombs were viable bombs that could have gone off, but yet they only had like hour timers on them. They had those little stupid egg timers that only go for an hour. All right. So what's the point in putting them there the night before?
How did they connect her to this all these years later?
What's that?
How did they connect her to that all these years later?
That was interesting. They say, and this is the funny thing. Now everybody thinks, they've got facial recognition. They used a program that matched the way she walks.
Okay, yeah.
Apparently, there's like a program that will identify your gait, and apparently you have a certain way that you walk, and that's what well, as a matter of fact, they're saying the program's saying it's like 96% probable that it's this person. But
Unless
I mean,
it's
if
like
it is,
very obvious, like the George Jefferson swagger.
Right. Or unless she pulled a Kaiser Soze,
Yes.
good point.
straightened
Good
up
point.
that gimp walk right at the end there.
But I mean, what was the point of that? I mean, other than pointing to the fact that the whole thing was an FBI op, which clearly it was. But I mean,
In
other
this
than
novel
that,
right here, one of the main characters, the main bad guy, he pulls that off. He dresses as an old man and literally, like, as the subterfuge, walks around as an old man. He's like a young, spry,
right?
30-something ninja, but he's just like all like limping and cane and to
Right,
throw
right.
off that sort of thing.
But what I'm trying to get at is, like, what was, I mean, other than to just create chaos, what was the point of putting those stupid pipe bombs there? Were they ever supposed to go off? Were they just some kind of distraction? And here's the thing. They knew they were there. Apparently the government knew. They let kids walk by them. They let Kamala Harris walk right by it. I mean, what's going on here? How is this? I don't.
There is so much what's going on any given day and any given hour that it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's true. It is. It is. It's crazy. I
To,
mean, the
To
government
tell a
is.
quick story. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say they're out of control. Go ahead.
Well, tell a quick story about, mimicking a walk or whatnot, like Kaiser Soze, or like you just said, the character in that ninja book. When I was manager at Roxy's on Clematis, I had a server come in one day and he hobbles into the restaurant, hobbles all the way up to me. I threw my back out last night. He's selling it, full blown Frankenstein walk and everything.
Nice.
I'm like, yeah, clearly you can't walk, you can't work. You know what I mean? So I watch him hobble out the front door. And he hobbles all the way down the street to Dixie Highway, and I see him make a left, still doing the perfect hobble. So I go through the back of the restaurant, out the back door, and go into the alley, and I'm standing there smoking a cigarette, just watching. And sure enough, as he passes the alley, he's just skipping. He's so happy to have the day off. And I yelled his name out, and he turned back and looked at me, and I just shook my head no. And he knew right then and there, you're done, son. If you'd have just committed to it all the way to the parking garage, you'd still have a job.
A good friend of mine one night, a kitchen worker, he told me that he was over it. He needed to leave, and he was going to tell the owner that he pooped himself. And I was like, I don't know, man, like, because then you're forever that guy. Like, for the rest of your life, you're that guy. Like, I don't know if that's the excuse you want to do. He's like, no, I don't care. And so, like, I watch him go to the office, and I see, like, him talking. I can't hear them, but I see, like, the owner just, like, just go. And he, like, comes up to me smiling, like, and I'm out. And I'm like, and sure enough, for years later, he was that guy that pooped himself, even though he didn't really do it. I'm like, but you got out of work that one night. Was it worth it?
Right now on the internet forever, he's that guy who pooped himself.
I won't name his name.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
You don't know who he is.
that is going to follow you. That stink is going to follow you around.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to talk about this other thing. I wanted to find out if Tom Brady is a member of any of the, like, PETA or any of those kind of animal rights organizations, because it was just reported that the dog he has now is a clone.
I heard something about that. Yeah.
All right. So first of all, you know how much it costs to clone your dog? It's like $10,000.
But he's got it.
He's got it. Yeah, exactly. It's all relative. It's nothing to him.
But how, personality-wise,
what's that?
And again, you're training from scratch, assuming he's like from a puppy. You're starting over.
My point was that if you're a member of PETA or any of those, first of all, dog breeders are bad enough, but you're not even taking a puppy of any kind. You're making your own puppies, forsaking all the other puppies that are out there that need to be adopted. And, like, look, if you're doing that, you can't possibly be, saying you're for animal rights or any of that kind of bullshit. That's just
And as you were just saying,
Scott, the world doing that right now for people.
Yeah.
And as far as personality of the dog goes, there's, not only are you not assured that you're going to get the exact same dog, but it would almost argue that you're assured you're not going to. Because look at identical twins. Genetically, they're the same. But
Well,
they're different, they're clearly
yeah.
different individual people. So yeah, you can't get your dog back that way.
I don't know
understand
about that. I
the
mean, I
wanting
think you
to.
get the same
But that's what I was
dog.
saying. Even if, let's say, like every element was exactly the same, your method of training now is going to be a little bit different based on before. And by that alone, it's going to be a different dog, if that matters.
Not only that, but you're not the same person. So if you're 10 years older, your whole set, your pheromones have
Yeah,
shifted
but-
and changed. You're
not as active.
The energy that you're putting out is going to be different. The dog's going to pick up on that. It's not going to react and respond to you in the same way that it would have to your younger self.
Mhm. True story.
So anyway, on to a new topic. Did you watch that commercial after I told you, Ron? Dr. Bob? The
Which one again?
The Chrissy Gnome commercial?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you didn't watch it? I called you. You said
No,
you were
you-
going to watch it. The
Did you
deportation
send it to me
commercial.
or just tell me to go look for it?
Oh, I thought you found it.
No.
Oh, it is hilarious. Oh, you said you were going to look it up right after you
Yeah,
got off
I
the phone.
forgot.
Oh,
All of
maybe you
the
didn't.
viewers and myself who have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyway, I wish I remember the song, but they've taken this song and repurposed it in this commercial and made it about self-deportation. Rewrote the lyrics. It is hilarious. I'm gonna have you try to, if you can find it, I'll have you put a link in the description because it is straight up hilarious. That's what I was telling you. I called you because Tim Dillon was.
I do remember talking to you about it now because I remember asking you, was it did they rip off like a Schoolhouse Rock song? Because that would have been really funny.
No, I wish I
If they
remember
ripped
what
off
song
like
it was.
Conjunction Junction and changed it to deportation.
It's something like that, though. It's something almost as hilarious. Tim Dillon played it on his podcast. I haven't seen it since then. I haven't seen it on TV, but it is hilarious. You definitely got to put the link.
We can we can definitely put a link in the
Yes,
description for it.
I mean, it's like the words self. I keep thinking it's the same. Like, what was that Carly Simon song that they did with the ketchup? I don't know why, but I think it's that song, self-deportation.
Oh,
It's just the whole thing.
You're
is
so
insane.
vain.
Yeah,
it's
yeah. But I don't think it's that song. But
Anticipation. I can't think of
Anticipation,
it. Yeah.
I don't think it's
They
that
used it
song.
for
But
like
it's
a
something
ketchup
like that, and they
commercial.
change all the words, and it's freaking hilarious. Anyway,
Here's an interesting side note in the history of Ram and I is around 2010 is when that's when you started having that full onset of like a lot of health issues. I believe it was around that time period, right?
2009, and then into 2010.
And I personally was going through a lot of stuff then too. And I remember feeling kind of bad because like I couldn't really be there for you like I wanted to. And then like I kind of lost contact. Like I don't remember for some reason any attempt. It wasn't bouncing back. And Chip, honest to God, we joke about this for about 5-6 years. I just knew in my heart of hearts that he was dead, that I just like, he was in such a bad state and I dropped the ball and now he's dead. And so for years I was just like, well, I lost another one. And then randomly, like around 2015, 16, there was like a random post on Facebook. And I just remember just like leaning in, like I'm looking at a ghost, like, what? like mind blown. Like, he's alive? Legitimately thought he was dead. So it's become like a common, a running joke whenever we part ways. I'm like, glad you're still alive.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there for the worst of it, man. I was, truthfully, I was there giving him the option. I was like, it looked so bleak. I was like, dude, if you need, you need somebody to help you with a way out.
Over your head.
Yeah. I mean,
Good friend right
I
there.
was serious though. I mean, it was looking so bleak. It was like, I wouldn't want to, if he was facing the rest of his life the way he was, I wouldn't want to live like that. I mean, thank God he got better. But yeah, it was rough. It was rough for a while there.
Yeah, and for the first 18 months, for sure, I dropped off the radar of everything because I got, I dropped my Facebook account, changed my phone number. I
couldn't find you. I couldn't
Yeah.
find you. Yeah.
I didn't want anybody that I knew that hadn't already seen me like that to see me like that. So
Right.
figured I either will make it or I won't.
All right, speaking of medical stuff, I just saw an interesting story on 60 Minutes yesterday, and it was about this lady who is supposedly right about to find the cure for breast cancer, and something tells me that she's probably been right at the cusp of finding the cure for breast cancer for about 20 or 30 years. But they didn't say that. But let's just let's just throw that out there. That may be the case. But anyway. So they had this woman on 60 Minutes bitching about the fact that the NIH has cut her funding, and now she can't do her research anymore. To which, of course, they're like, "Oh, this is such a terrible thing. It's horrible that this research is being." And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm sitting here watching this story, and I'm Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm thinking to myself, if I had the cure for breast cancer, that would be very lucrative, would it not?
Well, it's like the people that find alternative sources of energy, and then suddenly they disappear.
Well, here's the point. The point being that why don't the big pharma people that are making billions and trillions of dollars, why aren't they paying for this research? Why is the government paying for the research?
Because if you cure cancer, they can't continue to make money decades out.
Well, I know. Well, that explains why they're not finding the cure, but that doesn't answer the. Why don't they waste their own money on this research instead of the government that's clearly not getting anywhere? It's just the whole thing is and apparently the government's going to be opened up again very soon, which I haven't noticed any difference with it being closed. I don't know about any of you guys, but
I haven't either. But I've got some flights coming up later this week. I'm flying to San Francisco by way of Chicago, and fingers crossed.
Well, there's another perfect example. Why aren't the airlines paying the air traffic controllers? Why is the government paying them?
Well, and TSA as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or get rid of altogether, but one or the other.
Yeah, the TSA could easily go. We need air traffic controllers, but we don't need the TSA. But yeah, why isn't the airlines playing? And, I've heard people go, oh, if the airlines do it, they won't do it very good, or there'll be crashes all the time. And I'm like, I don't think that would be good for their business model. I don't think that would be in their best interest to have planes crashing all the time. I think they'd probably put some good money into making sure they don't.
And, all of that, like everyone wants to be the best. And, that look at what happened with all the space stuff, once it wasn't just NASA. Now you're really making progress because other factions can compete to be the person to do it,
Yeah, but at the same time, I think SpaceX has a unfair advantage because he's already, he's a defense contractor already. That's the thing people don't realize about Elon. He is part of the military industrial complex. He's a huge part of it. That's basically how he made most of his money before and I'm sure he makes money off Tesla and Twitter and all that stuff, but that's where he gets most of his money. So. But,
yeah, well, I'm sure there's Starlink was probably originally created not for us, and there's probably a much better version of it that he does sell to government and/or military.
Absolutely, that's going on.
It's just like GPS was originally not for us, and now that we're allowed to have the GPS that can get us within 100 yards or whatever, 50 yards, 50 whatever, tell you where you're at. Now that we can have that because their GPS can tell you down to the centimeter, spot on somebody's forehead.
Being in somebody's car, and they had, I think it was like a call to Garmin or something like that. Like they had a unit that was plugged into the cigarette lighter or whatever that was like a digital MapQuest. Like before, we all could just pick up our phone and do it. And I remember just me being fixated on it, and you could see the streets. They didn't have satellite view and stuff like you have now, and 3D where you can see what you can see in a Tesla. If you guys have ever ridden in a Tesla, and you can actually see the cars that are riding alongside of you. But I just remember looking at that like it was some kind of Star Trek thing, back in it might have even been late 90s or something, whenever that first started. But it was
those things were great.
Yes, it was something you plug into your car, and it sits in the dashboard with a screen. Before cars had screens.
Those things were based on current, whatever the current maps and stuff were. So they would only work for a certain period of time. And then you had to upgrade them or get them updated because as roads changed and names changed, or neighborhoods would get turned into residential instead of commercial. Because I remember one of those when I worked for my uncle, I had to try to find an ATM. It was either an ATM machine or a Lowe's. And it took me into some residential neighborhood, and it was it's right here. And I'm like, that's a guy's house. I don't think he has an ATM machine in his living room. And if he does, I'm not using it.
So have you guys seen that new tech they have for surveillance where they can apparently like see inside now, like see inside your house?
Oh, they've had that.
Well,
Yeah,
apparently they've got a new one that's based on. I think they get all the information from like routers and your phone, and they just compile all that stuff and basically kind of do what they basically said they were going to do in that movie, Enemy of the State. Remember that movie?
State, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what they were describing it then, and now they can do it. It's
They
great.
use your Wi-Fi signal to literally sonar map the inside
Yep,
of your house.
Exactly. That's exactly how it works. Yep. And they can
Without
tell.
going into too much detail for obvious reasons, like Rom can attest because he's been here a number of times. Like this, I am setting this place up to be as much of a safe hold, if you will, like a stronghold against whatever is coming.
So you got
know,
that cage thing built with the cat in there?
What's
From
that?
Remember the thing, the big cage in the building? Grab the cat.
But also like
You almost have to do that
it
now.
kind
I
of
mean,
segues into for a period of time. Whenever he would come and visit, I would always it was like a running gag of how close I could get to him when he walked from his car to the door. Like, how close could I get to him before he realized that I was right there? You know, like I could have killed you. You know, and kind of like that John Malkovich scene in Reds. You know. And
it's just
I
ninja
think
training.
the closest I ever got was like I literally like grabbed your ankle, and you were like,
Oh yeah, that's when you were hiding under your deck.
yeah, under the
Under
stairs.
the stairwell, yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen it full-on ghillie suit in a tree,
Oh,
in a
Jesus.
pile of leaves, on the roof.
You guys are like
On the
Pim
roof, yeah,
Pantho
I
and
forgot about
Kato.
That was with the laser pointer. Yeah, that was a fun time.
And remember
That's
one time
crazy.
when you came here with Heather, and she's just like,
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I'm gonna stay in the car until you boys finish your shenanigans.
Yeah, she said, I'm not getting out of the car until I see him.
Good times.
Oh, so I wanted to talk a little bit about music, and something just
Let's do
occurred
it,
to me.
yeah.
Something just occurred to me today. Why does it seem like the guys that write the best songs are not necessarily the best musicians? Except for like in certain cases, like the Beatles, obviously, but for the most part, guys that write like really great songs, not necessarily like not a shredding guitar player, not, you know, they're usually just guys that are average musicians that just come up with the right sequence of chords or whatever.
I think it's because it's like a vision. They can see it. They might not be able to do it, but they can see the chessboard and how to play it. Is how I see that.
Could be.
Like a coach for a team. You know, they're not playing, but they can tell you how best to do it. You know?
Well, I have my own theory, actually, and it's funny because, like, you know, I don't know my modes and scales and stuff like that, which is, you know, I guess you're supposed to know if you're a musician. But I've always kind of, like, put off, like, learning that kind of stuff, like, because you got to sit there and run through the scales and figure out the modes. And I've always kind of put that off until I was always wanted to wait until I was in a music writing situation, because apparently when you're learning stuff, like new stuff musically, is apparently will spark some kind of creative writing process. So maybe the fact that, you know, these guys are still learning how to master their instrument or whatever, or their voice or whatever it is, maybe the learning process is what really makes you creative and makes you want to, you know, makes you write the perfect song. I don't know, just spitballing here.
And a lot of it is AI now too, you know. But I wanted to talk to you, you being a fellow bass player. Like, do you have, like, what is some of your favorite gear? Like, whether it be pedals or amps or bass in and of itself, that sort of thing.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So, like, as far as gear, musical gear, as a bass player, do you have like a favorite type of amp or pedals?
God. Well, I mean, well, the thing is, I mean, you can't have a favorite because they're all different. You know, they all have a certain kind of sound. Like, I have 16 basses. So it's like, you know, I don't need 16 basses, but like every one of them has like a certain kind of quality to it that makes it unique. Right. Whether even if it just looks different, even though it's the exact same Fender as another Fender, it's got a different, you know. So, I mean, I tend to, like, gear-wise,
when I'm not using, this is not like a plug for this. This is just like when I'm not using actual separate pedals. This is kind of like if I just need like one thing that kind of does the most.
Right,
This
right.
your wah pedal and your compressor and your chorus and distortion and
I
everything
gotta
like all
say,
in one.
I don't really use a lot of effects on the bass, to tell you the truth. I mean, I have here and there, but to tell you the truth, it just, especially when you're doing a lot, I mean, in the studio, they're great, but when you're playing live, I've just had too many times where, and I see guitar players go through it all the time, where you got, they've got their pedal with like 50 pedals on there, and then all of a sudden they'll be playing along and sound drops out, and then they look at their pedal board and they start fiddling with 8 million chords to figure out what. So, to tell you the truth, on live, I just go no effects, and if I could have a tube amp, that's great, but those things are freaking heavy, So I mean, I have right now I have like a little Bugera head, a little 210 cabinet.
I was going to say my tube amp is a Bugera, where it takes like about at least 20 seconds before you can even hear any sound because it's just warming up.
Well, mine's not tube. Mine's solid state. I don't have. There are two Bugera amps, but mine's not. Mine's not tube. I do have a little. I tell you the truth, the thing I really like, if I have to like bring out the big gear, I've got a Billy Sheehan Ampeg preamp. That thing's badass. I don't think they make them anymore. I don't think you can get them anymore. But it's 2 channels. It's got your perfect Ampeg clean channel, and it's got like
with the direct in and all that stuff.
What's that?
Separate.
Say again?
Like with the direct in as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's got everything, dude. It's got everything. It's got all the bells and whistles, and it's got 2 channels. It's got one like clean channel, and there's a distortion channel, which actually is This is the only thing that I've ever made distortion sound good on a bass. Because normally if you get one of those stupid pedals, the bottom end drops out or something, it just sounds cheesy. Dude, this thing, you turn on that clean channel, and there's all that solid bottom end you need, and then you can just bleed in the distortion any amount you want, and it just put in much grit or as little as you want. It's perfect. But I mean, that's like a big rack full of stuff that you got to bring out and plug in. It's just, for 4-hour gig, it's unless you're getting paid a lot of money, it's almost not worth dragging that shit out.
Have you ever played through a Gallien-Kruger amp?
Oh yeah, I've had GK amps. Yep. I actually used to have.
Those are my favorite.
You ever heard of that? You ever see that little pedal they have? It's called the Plex. It's a little. It's a Swiss Army knife of bass pedals. It's a DI. It's got the EQ.
Well, that's kind of what this is. Yeah.
Yeah. It probably does everything that does, but it's small. It's about the size of a regular pedal. And it does everything, man. It's got compressors, EQ, It's got everything. And it's all programmable. Everything on there is adjustable and programmable. What they can put in a little box nowadays is pretty amazing. And I used to do a bunch of gigs with just that and like a power amp and a speaker, or even that, and just go right to the. Truthfully, the reason I had that is in case I ever did go to start using in-ears, because it would have been perfect for that. But I can't. Did you ever use in-ears?
I've had to, because the last practice space that we worked at, there was issues where the bass amp, without getting into too much detail, it could only be so loud, and I couldn't hear myself over that.
I know the detail.
In the cymbal, you were there. But I had to be able to hear myself, I had to figure out a way to have where I can hear just the bass in my ear, and it was a game changer. Because I could just like crank myself up without like cranking the amp up, and it just made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, apparently I have a maldeformed ear or something, because I literally went to this guy's house. I was actually trying out to be in a band with these guys, and they were like, "Well, you're gonna have to use in-ears," and I'm like, "Well, I don't have in-ears, and I've never really been able to use them." And he goes, "All right, I've got some. Come over and we'll set you up with these in-ears." And he had literally like 30 to 50 of these little things that supposed to fit in your ear. None of them fit in my ear. None of them. I'm literally like, even the one that a guy could get as close to fitting in my ear, about halfway through the thing, it would fall out. It's like, I don't know, there's something wrong with my ears or whatever, but I don't think I'll ever. The only way I'd ever be able to use in-ears, and I saw a guy doing this actually not too long ago, and it actually looked pretty cool, is if I actually wear headphones.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I had a separate, it's sitting over here. I had a separate where I could, in my own ears, I could adjust everyone else's volume and then my own volume.
Right.
So it didn't mess with what everyone else could hear and what the recording was.
Perfect.
But for my own sake, it was my own personal EQ of like, this is everyone else and this is me. You know, it made all the difference in the world.
Now let me ask you this: like, do you have whole bands that come in and use your rehearsal space?
Not as much as I would like. I mean, this room, Rom's seen it. Like it's a complete recording studio.
Right.
I have a Behringer Euphoria here, 8 input. I use Studio One as the DAW. It's got like even the ceiling has acoustic panels. Like when you walk in this room, it sounds different from every other room in the house. The whole idea of this room is it's a recording studio. But you know, I should probably, lately I've been trying to focus more on artwork, and I guess maybe heading into 2006, I might like put it out there more like, hey, come and play. Let's do some stuff.
Right.
You know?
What do you record? Do you have like Pro Tools?
It's Studio One.
Okay, I shouldn't even ask because I know nothing about any of that stuff. But I know there are guys that like, I know a buddy of mine, this drummer, he can, dude, the stuff he can do with Pro Tools is amazing. You know, it's funny. I was in a band with this guy, and I was over at his house once, and he starts playing me this music that he did with this chick, and it sounded a lot like, what was that chick? Kind of like Evanescence, kind of rocky, you know, hard rock chick. Dude, the stuff sounded amazing. I was like, why is this not like, why aren't you pushing this stuff out there? And apparently the girl took off and he couldn't, you know, produce it without her, you know, permission or whatever. But man, what you can do in a home studio now, I don't know how anybody even survives with these, you know, any kind of like big market, big money recording studio. You can do it all at home now. I mean, there's some things you need a good room for, like drums, unless you go electronic, or vocals, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so easy to just do at home. It's crazy.
I mean, and I've got a MIDI keyboard, so like if I just want more of like a synthetic or like, you know, like a Depeche Mode sort of drums kind of sound, you know. In the other room, I've got like another bass, another keyboard, guitar sort of thing. So like this whole house, Rom can attest, is like one big art and music studio.
Well, that's funny. You know, Rom and I have a mutual friend named Opie that back in the day he was talking about, because he's got a lot of friends like me and some other friends of his that are all musicians, and he was talking about trying to find a place to buy, like maybe in where are you at again? Not Asheville. Where are you at?
Sure.
Well, anywhere, and he was somewhere up there. He was talking about buying like an old house and converting it into like a studio, to where you would like, and have it be like kind of out somewhere, you know, out in the middle of nowhere-ish, so you're a little bit of isolation. And then he would, you know, bring bands in and let them live there for a couple of weeks while they did a project or whatever.
Like Blood Sugar Sex Magic. That album was recorded in a mansion. They moved everything into this mansion, and they just recorded in that house.
Right. Yeah, his idea was to take one of these houses and just turn it into a studio, and just use it exclusively for that, which is not a bad idea. But
I'm forever grateful. Like this particular, where I lucked into this house, is it could be 4:30 in the morning, and I can have my bass amp cranked all the way up. I could be playing drums, and there's nobody that's gonna, like, you know, knock on the ceiling, knock on the door, give me a call. Like it's fine. Like I play wireless as much as I can. I've walked into the front yard with my bass amp like full up inside, and I'm just like, cool. Yeah, no one's really gonna. Yeah, that's because it's all contained.
You know? I do that too, but I just ignore the neighbors.
Right. Do you?
Well, Scott, you got way more privacy where you're at than Chip does where he's at. And I also want to point out that it's not that I have nothing to say here. The reason I'm being so quiet all this time, it's just that I'm actually kind of just quietly nerding out in a weird way, because the two of you guys are literally my two oldest friends. I've known Chip since I was 14. I've known you since I was 20. And neither of you have, even though, you know, email and whatnot, never talked or met each other or spoke. Right. So I'm just literally kind of sitting here quietly seeing if my two friends get along.
Well, one of the things I have written down here, actually, Rom, is I wanted to talk to you about, was your mom a good cook?
Oh, God, no. Horrible.
Yeah, same with me. So you basically learned how to cook from the restaurant biz?
And my grandmother. My grandmother's a great cook.
Okay, there you go.
So anything I know how to make that you would consider bougie in any way, I learned from restaurants. But anything that I cook that's like meatloaf, southern comfort food, that kind of stuff, I learned from her.
Because obviously my mom was a terrible cook, but also my grandmother was a terrible cookie too. So I've always wondered, like, how did he end up being such a good cook? With because I can't. I mean, I actually what brought that up is, dude, I'm getting really good at cooking steaks on that grill skillet thing. Dude, I bought this steak from Publix the other day, and I was really worried about cooking it because I wanted to get a New York strip, but the only one they had was literally like 3 inches thick. So I'm like, how am I gonna? Is this thing gonna cook all right in the pan? Dude, it came out so freaking good. It was amazing. It was like literally, I wanted to take a picture of my steak. It looked so good. I was like, Jesus.
Don't be that guy.
It's funny is I didn't. It's funny you would bring that up because it was at the restaurant where I met Scott at a place called Providence Cafe, where I did first start actually paying attention to and asking questions of chefs and learning how to actually cook. Right. And it all came down to one guy, and it was Jimmy Kaysen. One of the coolest people I've ever worked with. I wish I still knew him. But I remember one day the soup of the day was mulligatawny. And I was, being a smarmy little punk 20-year-old, I was trying to ingratiate myself with him. And he asked me what I thought of the soup. I said it was good. And then I said, but I'm sure it's not indicative of your actual, like, in other words, saying, yeah, it's just soup. And he basically ripped me a new asshole. And he's like, you have no idea how hard it is to layer the levels of soup. Soup is actually one of the hardest things, blah, 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 blah. And after that, I had a whole newfound respect for even like simple items such as soup of the day. And that was when I started paying attention and learning how to cook.
Yeah, I got to say, any cooking I know how to do at all, I learned basically, in restaurants. And I mean, I used to work in the gathering days. I ended up working in the back doing prep work for, I don't know, a year or two. And I mean, I used to make soups, and I actually used to know how to make béarnaise sauce.
Nice. One of the mother sauces.
I don't remember how to do it now, but
I believe. One time when Rom came, we made alligator etouffee.
Really?
No, it was curried alligator. But we should add that there was a special ingredient in it, which was magic mushrooms.
Oh, wow.
And I remember at the time, the whole point of it was, all right, so I'm coming from Gainesville, so I have access to, like, you can get alligator meat here in the frozen seafood department at Walmart, Right. So I brought all the ingredients to make curry, and I brought, the mushrooms. And I think I remember saying at the time, we might be the only two humans that have ever done this. If you combine the three things, doing mushrooms, but putting them in curry, but then putting them in curry with the protein being alligator, that is a very small subset of humans that have done that.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and my response was, I doubt we're the only ones, but we are definitely in a small echelon of people, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that Venn diagram does not overlap with many other people.
Yeah.
No. Have you guys seen, when I was up at my dad's, I had to watch, TV with commercials. Have you guys seen now where they're advertising microdosing mushrooms?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I have.
Apparently it's perfectly legal now or something. I don't know. Yeah, what's her name? Phillips, the chick that used to be real fat that's not so fat anymore.
The singer?
Rebel Wilson?
Yes. She's she's doing the commercials. It's like, what the hell? How do you? I thought that stuff was illegal. How do you just advertise it on TV?
So now you can drink sodas with THC in them. You can microdose mushrooms, and you can therapeutically microdose ketamine. Wait, these were all things that were pretty horrific when I was young. You know what I mean?
That's what
People
they
give
say.
serious jail time for that stuff.
Yeah.
And yet we're still blowing up boats with supposed
we have fancy
fentanyl.
marketing and packaging, and
The whole drug war thing is just so ridiculous. It's, I don't know.
It's all just follow the money. It's just,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the whole thing. Yeah. It's absolutely all about money, for sure. But, I got into that with some guy on Facebook the other day about drug wars, and it's just so stupid. Anyway, it's more hypocritical than stupid, but what are you going to do? So I had something else I wanted to talk about. What was it?
Just poke your eye out there.
Yeah, right.
Twice.
Shit, I might be out. Oh,
Say it.
Here's the only other thing I wanted to talk about. I saw somebody was interviewing Erica Kirk. Oh, it was the Fox. It was the Fox interview, I think. And Jesse Waters asked her, he goes, do you think they have the right killer? And basically her response is, our team is on. I trust our team. So this makes me wonder, who is her team? Because, like, well, I'm sure
Is she
you guys.
referring to the Justice Department as her part of her personal team, or is she mean like private investigators? Or
she didn't really specify who her team was, but she was saying, "I believe our team is on the right track and doing blah 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 blah." But here's the thing: is her team like Kash Patel and the FBI, or is her team Candace Owens?
I would say so. You know, here's the thing. So this is the 2025 version of like JFK, if you will, in terms of like how like there's so much.
Quick. You guys go on for 1 minute,
but we all know it didn't really happen that way. And I would say for me, because I not that I'm not a political person, but I'm definitely like a whodunit. Like I'm definitely like I just want to know what's going on here, and without getting too deep into it, the person that I have been following that seems to be the most has the best. This is what is really happening. Like he's all diving into the point of like even going to the campus a couple days afterwards and like walking around. Like here's where this happened. Here's where this happened. You know, Ian Carroll. If you're familiar with Ian Carroll. Carroll.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so his handle is cancel Ian Carroll. He's done everything from like the Las Vegas shooter to 9/11 and everything in between. But lately, because of this, that's what he's been focusing on.
We were literally just praising,
like to the fact of like there's been internet searches for all the key players like a month out before this even happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of that. Like you will learn more about this case from just looking on his YouTube or Twitch or whatever than anywhere else that I have found as of late.
Yeah, we were just heaping praise on Ian Carroll last episode, as a matter of fact. We brought him up. But, and here's the thing. You got Kash Patel out there going, well, we're not going to give out any more information because we don't want to get out over our skis. You're already out over your skis. Right. You need to put out some information to get you back over on your skis, because all the crap they put out so far is just bullshit. It's just a bunch of unprovable crap. Just like you say you're like the sleuth guy, I'm the lawyer guy. I'm telling you right now, nothing they've got is going to stand up in court at all.
Absolutely nothing else should, like, I don't know, like everyone's in the Matrix. They're distracted with like whatever sports team or whatever. But like if absolutely nothing else raises your red flags, the fact that they completely days afterwards paved over that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like nothing to see here. Now it's a whole new thing instead of like a crime scene. If that doesn't make you stop and say, what will?
Well, there's so many things like that. I mean, there's so many things that make you go, it's just, there's not, I mean, what doesn't make you go, There's nothing that they're saying that doesn't go, what? Wait a minute, what? It's just so crazy.
At a certain point, you almost have to wonder if that's also part of the strategy, is to just throw so many things up in the air that it's literally impossible to focus on any one thing.
But what would that
constantly, like flares to distract a missile. Just there's so many different things that could be. Who knows what breadcrumb trail you're supposed to follow?
Yeah, and I would say before the age of the internet, that might have worked, but it ain't gonna work anymore. It's just clearly not working.
That's it. Yeah, that's just it. It's curious because like with this whole digital ID is like in the UK, like you can be put in jail just for posting something on Facebook. And part of that is you just have some information that you just want people to talk about, talk amongst yourselves, and next thing you know, there's someone at your door.
Which, I gotta say, you see all the stuff I post on Facebook. I've only ever been to Facebook jail once, and it was for basically what they called bullying, which basically some guy was saying he wanted to kick my ass, so I gave him my address. Come tell your best, buddy, and then I get put in jail for bullying. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Boy are you?
But you see all the shit I post on Facebook. They don't say nothing to me. But then again, I think a lot of people don't see what I post on Facebook too. I think I'm buried at the bottom of the Marianas Trench of algorithms.
You're not in Facebook jail, but you're probably just algorithmically shadow banned in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that. Yeah, I get people all the time that like, oh, I don't ever see you posting anything. I'm like, what? I post stuff all the time. How did you not see it?
Post all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
And I wonder at some level, I'm
Before
sure.
I forget, so last week you guys had on my buddy John Egbert, the Twitch streamer, and I just wanted to show like this is I don't know without a glare, one of the original pieces that I have from him. He was taking requests, like you like donate some money and he'll make a request, and so I had a Jedi Ninja made. So this was from one of your most recent guests. I have
Nice.
one of
It's
his
like a
originals.
Jedi
Cream of
jihadist
Yeah.
crusader or something.
Also, it wouldn't be a hangout time with me and Rom without me like forcing this upon him.
Oh, Jesus, why? The eyes, they just bear through me every time I see them.
Stare into your soul with
That was a dirty pool trick.
Yes, that's been an ongoing joke.
I was gonna say that's got to be an inside joke of some sort.
Well, every time anybody comes over my house, I always play records, and I don't even remember how that one even ended up in the rotation one time. But that face, that look is just so. What is even going on there? That it was such a topic of conversation that I had to just keep bringing it up, and just like when he least expects it, just like ah.
It reminds me of the George Costanza pose on the couch when he gets the portrait done of himself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's wearing his boxers and he's all stretched out. Yeah. It's just wrong.
It wouldn't be a hangout time with Ron without me incorporating that.
Forcing the yeah, you're right. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Do you think that was the record
Do you
company's
remember
idea?
the last time you were here, or one of the last times you were here? We were driving along, and the GPS said something like "keep right to go left" or "keep left to go right." Do you remember that? We were like, "What
Yeah.
what does that even
And
mean?"
I might have even brought that up on a former pod, though. But just to say it again, Charlotte has some of the worst roads, the worst intersections, the corner of Queens Road and Queens Road, roads that loop back on themselves,
Yeah.
roads that change names without ever turning right or left. You just going along and the road changes. Then another mile and a half, it changes again.
Or they'll be completely renamed, and you didn't know it.
Yeah, I can't
Or
imagine
GPS didn't know
being
it.
any kind of delivery driver in that place, or I mean, yeah, GPS is going to help, but by God, before that, being a post office worker there must have been a fucking nightmare.
You know, I got to tell you, let me tell this GPS story. One time with my crazy ex that we've talked about before, we're trying to go to Naples. Normally, we would just go across Alligator Alley. For whatever reason, we decided to go across straight from West Palm, down south of the lake and over that way. So we're going along, and we're using her GPS, and it's going, oh, take a left here. And it was like such short notice, there was no way. I was like, I went by the left. I'm like, well, we didn't make that left. And then it says, recalculating, continue ahead for another 10 miles. And I'm like, oh, there must be another road or something. Dude, we rode down the street 10 miles till it found a place that it thought we were okay to turn around and go back and go on the right street. I was like, are you kidding me? You should have just said, turn around, you missed your turn. I couldn't believe that. I was like, they made us drive.
On road drives back to Gainesville from West Palm, I've had like horrible situations on the turnpike where I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm getting off the turnpike. Get off. It recalculates me, and all it does is somehow put me back on the turnpike.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? It'd take me
that's-
through a couple of neighborhoods, maybe one exit, maybe not even, maybe back or even to the same exit I was on.
Yeah, which doesn't help you at all. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know.
Another thing, you guys have talked on previous podcasts about this, and I think I've commented regardless too, with that is when he's in town, we try to, as far as going out to eat, like we've mentioned this before, like where can we go where we're probably going to be the only two Caucasian people there, just because it's going to be like we haven't been disappointed yet.
Right.
Like
right.
when we
It's a
go
good
in,
standard.
yeah, like when we go in and we're the only two, like just pale people, like it's been so phenomenally good every time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch that because
Charlotte has some of the best soul food. I would say Charlotte and probably Atlanta might be the two best places in the United States to go if you want to get good soul food.
Hey,
For
listen,
sure.
we
For
made
sure.
the slaves cook for us for a couple of 100 years. They certainly learned something.
Those were prime, yeah, exactly, concentrated areas where that was taking place.
Yeah, that's where barbecue came from. That's black people invented barbecue.
Yeah.
But
Another funny story that was actually, now that I think about it, that was probably a year ago, because I think this was back when Halloween was happening. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
When we went to the donut place, and we were sitting there waiting for our order, and these cops came in, and you and I were both tuned up a little bit, and I just like went up to him. I was like, "Well, look at you guys just feeding that stereotype."
Yeah, I was like, yeah, what a great comment to make to him.
God, speaking of cops, I'm sure you see on my Facebook thing. I'm a huge fan of the audit, the First Amendment auditor guys, and just the other day I was at CR Chick standing in line, and I had just come from my guy's house too, and so I had a smelly pocket full of stuff that I didn't even think about until it was like literally just almost seconds too late, and these cops were about to walk past me out the thing, and I was going to stop them and start grilling them on the Constitution. Luckily, I thought better of it, because if I had stopped them, they'd have been like, "Hey son, what's that smell?" I was like, he was that close. I was like, "You know what the Fourth Amendment is?" I almost got myself in some trouble there. Although I even say to this day, it's like, what are they going to do? Give me a ticket, and then by the time I go to court, I'll have the card. Whatever. I'll pay your stupid little fine if I have to. Anyway, so what? You guys about ready to wrap this one up?
We can do that.
Yeah, we've done an hour. I'd say
Yeah,
we're good.
because I
We
got
can
to
always
pee like
do
a
it again.
racehorse.
Smash that like, click the bell.
All right, so like, subscribe, share.
904-549-9024.
Outstanding.
Yep, right. So I've got some people that I've been urging to call the number and leave some like comedic bits. So the number is 904-549-9024. So if you don't want to come on the show, which is what this person has told me, then you can call in and leave funny comments on that number, and we'll play them on the show.
How does that work? Are you gonna like have a segment where you just play like audio clips, or?
Well, if we ever get a call, we could probably play it right at the beginning of the show or something like that. But truthfully, we're kind of trying to set up the phone number more for like, eventually after the first year, we want to set it up where we can live stream and have people call in like while it's happening and stuff like that.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Kind of, we're trying to get to be as close to the Love Doctors as we can. It's technical stuff's going on, so if we can get there
we want to give total strangers really bad advice.
Yeah, exactly. and have them do all the work and call in and do all the funny stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I was trying to be funny.
I appreciate you guys. Brom's been wanting me to do this forever, and I've been like, I don't know. And finally, I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do it.
So that wasn't so bad.
I didn't think it was going to be bad. I was just like, am I really that interesting that you guys want to talk to me? But we do have some things that we could hash our history and whatever else.
Yeah, and we didn't even get into nearly any of that. So we definitely do it again.
This is the best.
This show is very Seinfeldy. It's really about nothing.
To protect the guilty.
I'm out. I got to hit the head. I'll catch you guys later.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks.